Okay, welcome to another episode of C to the C. My fellow contrarians, we have some huge news. He's alive. Ari's alive. It's like Frankenstein, right? It's alive. We did a pulse check on him, and he said he's still around. So,
Yeah, guys, I'm right here. Sorry for being away for a few days, but yeah, I'm back. How's it going, Moyer?
Yeah, right. He must be on, like, he thinks he's on some Sherlock Holmes, expedition, some old school British mystery he's trying to solve, or I don't know. He's like fashioning himself after Doctor Who. He's like, yeah, I'll explain later.
No,
I'm
it's
just so
like
busy.
I could imagine he just like turns up to one of our doorsteps. He's like, guys, I have the Holy Grail.
I know. You could get carried away and say something magical is happening, but really it's just a deeply unwell schizophrenic man getting worse. And so that's really what we're mostly dealing with now. So, all right, get well. I'm sure you'll be back at some point. You have tons of adoring fans waiting for you. But until then, there's something that I want to do. And I always make it a point to not do this because to me, it encourages bad behavior and it's a little bit self-indulgent. So don't get used to this. It's tempting. As a creator, it is tempting to do this often, but I could not look away, Tyson. And let me know what you think. After you uploaded a clip from that episode where we talked about, I don't know,
the Taylor
really
Swift.
benign Taylor Swift opinions, really. I mean, it wasn't even that bad in either direction. I thought we were pretty soft. I mostly leaned towards liking her. You were just trying to be a little bit objective about it. So it wasn't that bad a video, but when you invoke her name, it's the Babadook or Bloody Mary. The people come out. It's like Zack Snyder. So
I was gonna bring that same thing. I'm seeing a lot of parallels between Taylor Swift fans and fucking Zack Snyder fans. There's a common thread in between them.
Those two deserve each other. Those fans need to collide in a face-off. What if there were, it's like in Marvel Secret Wars or they put everyone in an arena and all these characters from different periods in time all fight each other in this battle, and it's like got a bracket and everything. I think so. We need to do something like that with fandoms, like K-pops versus Swifties versus Snyders.
You see that video on Twitter of this entire plane just full of Taylor Swift fans, and they're singing on the plane, and there's like this one guy in the middle, and he looks like he wants to kill himself, like in a millisecond, dude.
Well, he should. He has a nice, enjoyable plane ride with some good, most likely good-looking young girls, and he just is lame. And that's what he gets for flying and trying to travel. That's pathetic behavior. So, you got anything left to say about that before I start rattling off these comments? Because I can't look away from them. They're too funny. First off, I love when people comment on these videos, good or bad. So keep them coming regardless. But there's a few on there.
I used to hate when we get negative comments, but I see the other side now. It's really fucking funny. So I'm all for it.
It's my favorite part. It's my favorite part. They're unavoidable, and if you learn to enjoy them, then that makes them even better. So yep. I'm gonna start with one that stuck out to me earlier in, and if you got any, feel free to jump in because I have it open right now. Some guy named @user with a bunch of letters and numbers after his name. He goes, and he's talking about me for sure, because anytime it's about maybe someone sounding a little bit feminine, that's usually about me. He says, "You sound like the type of guy who goes to her concert and cries." I could only listen to 8 seconds. Go pour coffee for a living. This isn't gonna work out, bud. So I'll just clear the record here. In my defense, I don't do this for a living. I would be very concerned with my well-being if I did, especially if I had to depend on someone like Ari to show up. But also, I'm not a big coffee drinker either, but just let it be known, it could be me preaching the gospel to you, and then what, Zyphos and Lawnmower American listening, and I'd still go until the last days, because this is what it's all about. It's for the love of the game, but I love that comment. There was another one from Kyle Dodson 2992. He says, "Boomers dude, I'm like 30 plus years removed from Boomer, and I hate it too. So does that mean he's really young or really old?
The fact that he thinks Boomer is a specific age generation means that you are a Boomer. You know, Boomer is anyone that's over 30 years old, unfortunately. So
not only that, but well, yes. And also it's kind of a state of mind and a mannerism. That's why people who are 32, 33, 34 can still act and live like boomers, but mostly boomers fall into a certain age range and act like them. And then at the end, he caps it off with also, "This show sucks," with all caps. I love that kind of stuff. Right below that, oh man, this guy got in early. This guy got in. This is my fucking
favorite one. Is it the same one that we're thinking about?
Yeah, you do the honors if you got it open.
So there's this comment called from this guy called Riding with Jake, and it says, "This video is a massive fail. LOL!" Exclamation mark. And then, you know, for some reason we're like, okay, who is this guy? So we clicked on this guy's channel, and the first video that we saw is why I wish I wasn't gay.
And I hear you, brother. But that's also when you're catching the ire and vitriol of a gay Swiftie, then yeah, you're going down the rabbit hole, right?
But hold on, we're catching the ire of a closeted Swiftie. So what does that mean? They don't want to be gay, so they're against us.
Yeah. Well,
maybe he thinks we're like flamboyantly gay. He's like, I wish I could be like them, you know.
I think we'll leave the cosmic scholars to figure that one out. So that is a riddle. That is a riddle. So look
at these two obviously homosexual Taylor Swift fans. I wish I could be out as open as they are with their sexuality.
Yeah, sending out veiled messages secretly on his channel, but calling other people gay, maybe. So it's funny. The one at the top is probably my favorite because what it says makes no sense, and then it gets 5 replies that are like, yeah, oh my gosh, you're so right, that's crazy. So this person, Big Important Man 1544, which, okay, interesting number choice, I can't get anything out of that now. Imagine if they cut to Andrew Tate clips 200 times in the middle of the Kardashian season finale, and then there's a comment, exactly. And it's like, exactly what? What does that even say? I guess that's trying to say that,
you know,
girls
if they did
who
that,
watch,
I would. Yeah. If they did that, I would watch the fucking Kardashians finally. You know, that'd be sick.
Maybe they're trying to say, this person's trying to say, if people who typically like the Kardashians wouldn't like it to be ruined with Andrew Tate clips in the same way that people who watch football don't want it ruined with Taylor Swift, which even in the point of the video, I said they only show her about 4 times a game, let alone 200. But it would be funny if a Kardashian show is interrupted with, "You're broke, you're poor," whatever he talks about lately. But it just made it like, what's the term? Non sequitur. It just, there's no relationship between the two things. And people were saying like, they're like arguing about this point that makes no sense in the first place. So here's one that might be, I think this one was targeted at you, Tyson. This guy at Jared Gage goes, "Grown adults who follow TMZ scare me."
Dude, I like that comment because I thought he was digging at the people that were complaining about Taylor Swift. And then I realized, oh wait, I mentioned TMZ in the video, so he's talking about me.
You got sniped clean. For some reason, that's what he got out of it.
Wait, did you see the comments? The reply that is irrational fear, and the guy's like, "It's just a saying, my friend. None of these beta males actually scare anyone, let alone me."
Yeah, dude, you got cleaned
so
up.
we got fucking tough guy Jared Gage here. Holy shit.
Hey man, he can take you. He can take you. Matt McKnight, makes sense why you have 257 subs. Hurts a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Matt McKnight went for the jugular there, and he came out. He came out with something to tell the people back home about. So here's one that I actually think is pretty interesting. Okay, this isn't about us. I just think it's a stupid point. Sif.pm7tk. If I went to a Taylor Swift concert and they showed Travis on the big screen 10 times, would the fans be irritated? You goddamn right they would be. So stop the bullshit. I want to watch football. No a fucking soap opera.
Honestly, I'm kind of with them. I'm kind of with him on this point.
Well, you're an idiot then. You're just as dumb as he is, because Travis Kelce goes to her concerts and they show him all the time during it, and they
Oh, wait.
love it. They take
Wait, hold on.
pictures of
No,
it.
no,
They
no. Hold
take
on, hold on.
videos.
Hold on. I thought he was saying Travis Scott, so I didn't realize it was Travis Kelce.
What? Why would it be?
So
Okay, so you're dumber than him.
I
wow,
retract my
that's-
comment. Yep, I thought it was Travis Scott. Never mind.
Okay. So that guy's wrong with actual factual reality. So he made a hypothetical that was real, and he was wrong in his hypothetical. So that's not good for business right there. So there's someone on here. She made a good point. I think she was dispelling you. Her name's Katie Z688. She looks a little bit like a baddie, actually. Katie Z hit me up. She goes, how can you fake mass numbers of people trying to buy tickets? Veiled Mandalay Bay shooting reference. No, I'm just kidding. How can you fake mass numbers of people trying to buy tickets? Her show's selling out. The increases in hotel revenue because people are willing to travel to see her. People rebuying albums she has re-recorded. It's not possible. People show up and buy that stuff, or they don't. And hey, I think she's right. I think she's trying to tell you.
I think she's missing the point.
That. Okay, how's she missing the point?
I'm saying my point was I feel like it's a psyop, and then my point being, like, if it's a psyop, obviously people would believe it and then get on the train, right? So I just feel like the origin of Taylor's resurgence is inorganic. You know, I just don't realize. I don't see like what the big deal is.
Well, I covered that in the video with you, answered it, and Katie also kind of did a pretty adept takedown of you as well. So you're kind of on the back foot right now. And then
Yeah, but your answer wasn't really good, so it's fine.
My answer was thorough and phenomenal. It's because her albums have had a chance to settle in generationally now, and that makes room for a resurgence coupled with her concert. Not that hard to understand, but I can see how you get lost there.
I just don't buy it, but it's fine. You know,
that's fun. That's anecdotal, and that's what we're all about here. This last person here, unless you got another one, Jesus H. Christ 2000. Okay, it's a little blasphemous. This person was probably born in the year 2002, which is frightening that he can go on the internet.
maybe he's.
I guess
Mexican.
that means he's 20. That means he's 24.
Maybe he's
yeah,
Mexican.
You're right.
Maybe it's Jesus.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'll just assume that.
Jesus Hernandez Christ.
There we go. Christ. Jesus Hernandez Christ. 2000. He goes, lost me at PSYOP. The term PSYOP has lost all meaning now. That company's trying to PSYOP me into buying their product by advertising it. He's making a good point. I totally agree. I think that term has been completely overused. And you know what? It just popped in my head. Another term that we need to retire in 23, unless it's absolutely obvious, is grifter. That is all people. If you're offering a service on the internet, they call you a grifter. So there's actually very few examples of people who constantly hop between a bunch of different movements or ideologies in order to profit off them, and they're very easy to spot. So that term needs to be reserved for people who are actual grifters, because now
let's do a little game. Who, off the top of your head, who in the right wing actually is a grifter in your eyes?
I think that Tim Pool is.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think that
that
Tim Pool started off as a reasonable leftist, and now he's a civil war is coming right-leaning
My
person.
first answer was Lauren Southern.
I disagree with that one. I do disagree with that one, because I think she also did that documentary. She was in it, and I think her life experience just led her to be more reserved and less extreme. You could tell that she tries to be a little less tense in her communications.
Dude,
now
she tries to come back every 6 months with some centrist talking point. Like, she came back a few years ago. She just had this video where she's like, wow, isn't everything so crazy? And just like refused to make a point the entire video. So I just think she's being disingenuous the entire time.
Or yeah, it's possible. Or she's just, some people care less about certain things as they get older and aren't as gumptious over them, if that's a word.
The thing about Ben Shapiro, though, is you know that he believes what he says. So there's that, you know?
Yeah, and there's people who will say he's a grifter. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, no, that doesn't make any sense. He's been annoyingly consistent on certain issues over the last 10 or 20 years, and he makes money off of them. That's not a grift. That's disingenuously using something to your advantage that you don't believe in, that you also previously didn't entertain before to make some money. So, are there any other ones hanging out on here, or we've had some fun with the Swifties? There's some other comments in there that are just kind of like talking about what we discussed in the video, which is good. I like that. Some people who watched it and had some different ideas. So moving on from that, also gracious of the Swifties to stop by. Before that, it was the Snyderites. So I'm wondering who is next. I'm wondering. I will never make a video about K-pop, so I'm not going near. That's radioactive, okay? But next popular figure that we might happen to talk about, we'll see which ones of them swing by. So that is good stuff. But I got a few topics hanging out here, and just some things that have been kind of crossing my mind lately. And there's one that's really been, no, it's not really been bothering me. It's just something I've been wondering because I saw a comment about it where a woman who was or is a lesbian talked about how her ovaries or just her, female biology kind of perks up and reminds her that you're ovulating or you want to have a kid. But the problem is that this girl is a lesbian. So in a way, being a lesbian is counterintuitive to what her body is telling her that it wants. And okay, I'm obviously not one, and I don't understand the nuances of being one. But for some reason, and I don't know why, because this happens, this is followed by a story I have from when I was a little younger in college. But are we truly convinced that being a lesbian is real? Because I'm starting to not really see it. And one of the main reasons is, what do you do when you have sex as a lesbian? So, obviously you can eat each other out, or you can hop on the same dildo or something.
Have a strap on, I'm guessing, right?
They do a strap on, but then they scissor each other. Right? They scissor each other. And I was reading in some one of the books I read recently.
I'm trying to imagine it. I can't see how scissoring would feel good. Like,
I don't. Apparently, it does. I don't know. You got to really get in there.
How would you even fucking move your hips if you try to crisscross? What the fuck?
But you watch a movie with two women who have sex, or read a book about it, and they say, "Oh man, that was great. That felt so good." It's what was great. What did they do that was better than another lesbian doing that same thing? Because you're all kind of doing the same thing to each other all the time, depending on when you bring toys in there. And if you have to bring toys into it, that just makes it seem even less natural. So what are we even talking about here? What is good lesbian sex? They ate you out really well. And this kind of plays into the idea, and I might have brought it up on the show before, it's called lesbian bed death. Really interesting Wikipedia read, but apparently 2 to 3 years, mainly 2, into a lesbian's relationship, it becomes essentially sexless because they're no longer satisfied with the sex that they're having. And they just turn into some strange domesticated partnership that's really just about having a companion and maybe occasionally being sexually
a Subaru ownership conjoinment.
Contingent.
A flannel wearing Subaru ownership.
Well, that's just it, right? Okay, put it this way, and this is awful. I can't believe I'm saying this, but imagine you have a really pretty girl. She's got long hair. Maybe she wears a plaid shirt, something to signal she's a lesbian, and drives a Subaru. And they're always with women who look like men. I don't get that. I don't get just be with a man. I don't get that.
If you're a lesbian, you're attracted to femininities, right? So wouldn't you want the most feminine woman? What the fuck is why do you want some fucking dyke with a bull
I was trying to avoid using that word, so you said that, not me, which is fine. So keep going.
They're fat. They have a buzz cut. They're aggressive. Their facial structure looks like a man. They wear man clothes. It's are you sure you're attracted to women? Because it doesn't look like it.
You know what's not discussed either? They beat the shit out of their partner because they want to live up to their idea of what being a man is.
I think that's connected to fucking the bed death, because they can't do anything. It's like it's just I can picture a lesbian be like, dude, scissoring fucking sucks, dude, and then just wailing on their fucking wife.
Well, how could you not have a, a galactic sexual frustration when your need, just like it is with the phallic area of a man to fill something, and a woman's is to be filled by a man that she loves. But instead, you got something else that is also a hole just jamming itself up against you over and over. And it's like, ooh, that feels really good. What are you talking about? Come on now. Be serious with me here.
The real contrarian take is that I think this sort of proves, and I've been thinking about this for a while, but this sort of proves that the leftists were right when it comes to sexuality. I think they're right when they say it's fluid and that it's dynamic. So if you have a lesbian, but then they can be influenced to become straight, you could do the same thing for gay guys. I honestly, earnestly believe you can turn a gay guy into a straight guy, just like you could turn a straight guy gay. You know?
I'm leaving them alone this episode. We already had a Swiftie discussion, so I'm leaving the homosexual men on the shelf for now. This is purely about female nature and lesbians, and you're making a point that they're societally influenced to be the way they are, and yes, that is true, but I don't think it's fluid in the sense that nothing... The outside, imagine you're living in a pod and the outside world isn't touching you at all, or isn't influencing you at all, and you're still a lesbian, or you wake up the next day and decide that you're actually a guy. I don't think that's true. And I think the leftist position is, yes, that is true. You can, in a vacuum, become something that you're not born as, or a preference that you...
I don't know, man. The mind's a pretty powerful thing. You think about how many habits that we form and the strength of those habits. Are you telling me if you get a gay guy or a lesbian and you try and influence how they perceive things, that you couldn't turn them straight? I think you could after a certain amount of time, you know? I talked about this way back, but like if you got a gay guy who loved watching porn and then you started feeding him porn of like a really like feminine looking guy, and then you just switch that to like a really masculine looking girl, and then keep sliding the scale of femininity more and more towards feminine, eventually he's going to be jacking it for fucking women, right? So I believe you can do that for lesbians as well.
Well, I am consulting with a guy who felt like he wanted to be a woman after watching 5 episodes of an anime, so maybe you're right. I'll let you go on that one. But also, I'll move off of that and say that the story that I mentioned earlier, you can defend yourself if you want, but give me 1 second. The reason why I thought about this additionally reminded me, so this is years ago. This is when I was in college. The world was a little different. It wasn't socially the way it is today. I remember I was out and about, going to some bars, not long after I was 21, and I ran into, with my friend, a group of 4 or 5 lesbians. They were lesbians who were out for a bachelorette party because the one girl was getting married to another girl. And I was talking to one for a while. I didn't know she was a lesbian yet. We were talking. She was flirting a little bit. She said, oh, you look like this, or like your hair or whatever. And she was really, I could feel... there was some sort of attraction there, possibly. And some girl comes up while we're talking and says, what's going on, honey, or something like that. And it kind of showed, and maybe that girl was getting jealous or something. And she's like, oh, I'm just talking to this guy, blah, blah, blah. He was talking about this. And I was like, wait, your friend that's getting married, she's a lesbian. Are you a lesbian? And she was like, no, yeah, I am. And, she had likely what was her partner right next to her when she said this. But in that moment, I saw such indecision. It couldn't help but make me think that there's something more going on here. It was kind of an eye-opening moment where I thought you just knew. I thought you just knew, and that was that. But there's still people trying to figure that out, and they're unsure of themselves. And I said, well, if I were to have sex with that girl that night, would she have still been a lesbian? I don't know. I'm not saying that I would be the sole person to switch it. But
you've heard the phrase of lipstick lesbian, right? Like, it's this phase where girls go through in college where they make out. They have like a mini lesbian phase where they make out with another girl, and they say, "Oh, tee, look, I'm actually lesbian." But then once they hit 24, 25, they say, "Oh, wait, it's time to go back to being straight, and I want to marry a guy." You know?
Well, the tough part is that feminine beauty is probably the most potent, intoxicating power on the entire planet, and there's something feminine in itself about being bi-curious of other women. And I'm hesitant to use the phrase bi-curious. Maybe just experiment or have a moment with another woman as you're growing up being a heterosexual woman. I think it's natural, actually. I don't even know how to describe it, but it seems like more girls than not have kissed another girl in college. It's very normal, you know. I mean, I saw it all the time when I was in school. Well, whatever. I'll let that story go.
It just seems, it just feels natural, you know, to be attracted to feminine energy, no matter if you're a girl or a guy. Like,
exactly.
I'm trying to imagine being attracted to a fucking masculine energy. That seems unnatural. Like, can you imagine looking at some weirdo with a hairy chest and being like, "Damn, I want to get up all in that"? Like,
I'll see girls with their boyfriends and think, what are you even doing? Like, this dude's like, imagine that ugly plump dude, like, with his schlong. Well, I guess that says a lot about me. Never mind. Cut the tape. But I do wonder, because I'm not attracted to guys, how are women attracted to guys? They're boring. They barely say anything interesting. It's impossible to get them to go out, and a lot of the time they're out of shape. Yeah, that's fine. I understand. I'm sure you have incredibly interesting things to say and are a great conversationalist. But for the most part, it does.
I think you give guys befuddling. You give guys too hard of a time. You know, a lot of guys, they're well-meaning and they're okay.
They deserve it. All they do is whine these days. All they do is whine and complain. They whine and complain about women who they think whine and complain. I think it's pathetic. The average male discourse going on today is just pathetic.
I think that's just Twitter. You're extrapolating from a small subset of guys that you see on Twitter.
Okay. I disagree, because I've had some similar conversations in real life, but maybe those are people who are just as online as I am. So, you know, we all live in our own little worlds. So there is a possibility there. So yeah, it's just, I think there's a lot to digest there, but okay. This is getting a little bizarro world, but isn't that me acknowledging sexuality on a spectrum if I'm able to say that lesbians aren't sure about being lesbians in the first place? Isn't that how the left wants me to think? That's what you're saying, right?
That was my point. Like, sexuality is fluid, which means if they really wanted to, they could be converted back to being normal. So
wait, hold on a second. What are we backing into here? Because you're supposed to say that they're born like that. That's the normal thing that you have to say, but they're not. They're not born like that. They can decide to not be that at any time.
Well, hold on. Their claim is that gay people are born like that, but then they also claim that sexuality is fluid and dynamic, and they can change it at their whim. So it's like, oh, okay, I guess you can change back to be normal, right? Or is it not in your menu right now?
So does that mean it's embedded in someone's DNA that when they're born, they'll probably be heterosexual for 10 years, gay for 10, and then straight for another 10, because that's how they were born. And then also they'll decide to be a guy 10 years after that, but they were just born that way. But also they can change it whenever they want. It kind of compounds on itself until it means absolutely nothing. So I think it should be normal for me to say that lesbians aren't real, because they can decide they're not real whenever they want. Right?
And you know
because
what?
It's on a spectrum.
If any of you feminists or leftists disagree with that, you're being not progressive with sexuality theory. So yeah, we're more progressive than you are. I believe that they're fluid enough to change back to being normal. So they're.
And to kind of cap this off, and maybe I was giving it extra thought at the time when I was in school. I took a gender studies class before gender studies and being woke was even a term. And what they said in that class was that your sex, your biological sex, is male and female. You are born with that. There is you're male, female, and that's what you're born as. but your gender, you can decide whatever that is any day that you wake up. Okay, so even that's changed now. Okay, so that used to be the norm. That's not the norm anymore. Now you have to acknowledge that if someone decides they're a male, regardless of their biology, that they are a male. Same thing with female. So it's changing. It's changing all the time. And listen, I'm just earnestly trying to understand it, echo it back, get some feedback here. And that, does that make me a bad person? I have no idea. I just know exactly what I believe. And what I believe is that there's people who are definitely unsure about their sexuality. They could be on this very podcast or absent from this very podcast as we speak. So,
while we're still on this subject, it actually ties into one of the topics that I was going to bring up, actually. But is it just me, or are you also seeing a lot more gay people in public these days? Like, dude, it's only February, and I've seen more gay people in public this year since like January 1st than I have in the entire year beforehand. Like, what's up with that? I went to this fucking grocery store, and I saw like and I was counting. I was like, oh, okay, one gay couple, two, three,
normal behavior.
Because it's the first one was really jarring, and I'm like, wait, there's a second one at the same grocery store, So my question is, when was the first time? I'm curious. When were you first exposed to like seeing gay stuff or gay people in real life? Because I know exactly what it was for me, right? So I was in high school.
You obviously want to tell the story, so just you tell the story. I don't. Go ahead.
Okay. No, it's just. So I was in high school, and then there was a party, and then all of us were, just drinking and stuff, and then I was outside, so I heard this fucking massive commotion going on inside, and then me and my buddies went inside. We're like, "What the fuck's happening?" Apparently, this guy called we'll call him Jack, but apparently he was caught like making out with this other guy in the toilet. And then he ran out of the house and went back home. And then I think he changed schools after that.
We'll keep the naming convention to be on this unknown specter of a gay man called Jack. But I had a Jack of my own when I was 10 years old. I lived in I was in a very insulated homeschool community, and I was playing Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 with my friend Jack, and I pulled up the piano bench so that he could use the left side of the keyboard to press control and use the lightsaber, and I would use the right side and move around with the arrow keys, and it was fun. Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast is one of my favorite games. Dark Forces 2 is probably my favorite game. It's a great series everyone should play, but when it was a cutscene, I'm trying to pay attention to what Kyle Katarn was saying. He leans in on the piano bench and is trying to kiss me. He's trying to kiss me.
What the fuck?
Dude, my dude risked it all during a Jedi Outcast cutscene. and I didn't know what that was. I was not exposed to that. Okay, I was raised very sheltered, and I don't regret that. So I didn't know what it meant, but I knew I was viscerally disgusted by it, so I shoved him off the piano bench, and he fell onto the ground as first, and he started crying and left the room, and that was that. I wasn't really trying to hang out with Jack much anymore, so I
would love it if your mom walked in on you like, what the hell are you doing? Just that he's leaning in to kiss you.
Nah, I let her know about it, and she was, was raised very Christian. She wasn't happy about that. So, and when that happened, I didn't get it. And honestly, for years, I didn't either. And then I actually ran into him, God knows, 15, 20 years after that, and he was like, remember that time I tried to kiss you on the piano bench? I was like, yes, I remember.
What the fuck?
It was pretty weird. So to answer your question, yeah, that was my first exposure. But no, I don't think there it's like Amber. Well, you don't have Amber Alert in your country, but there's gonna be an increased use of homosexuality detected in your area. Like that's what you're getting. Yeah. You're getting. You should put light the beacons of Gondor. No, I live in an incredibly homosexual friendly city, so I'm used to it. I see it everywhere. So
Dude,
you live in a
I'll
little more off
tell
the grid.
I'll tell one last story before we cap off and move on to another subject. But the most jarring story I have when it comes to gay guys is, so my buddy brought 4 of his friends over to the house that we were renting, right? And it was a pre-drink, so they were gonna go drink at my house, and then all of us were gonna go out to some other person's house party and party there. So we were drinking for a little bit, and I was talking to this one guy, and you know what? I thought, damn, this guy's actually really charismatic. He's like making lots of eye he was like making lots of eye contact with me. He's like asking me all these questions, and I just having a great time just chatting with him. Then all of us, get a bit tipsy. Then we drive to the other person's house to party, and then, dude, towards the end of the night, this dude was making out with another Asian guy that looks just like me.
But skinnier?
Yeah, actually.
There you go. Yeah, okay. And what'd you think of that?
I feel kind of betrayed because it's like, oh, I thought you were actually interested in me when you were talking to me. It's what you just wanted my thing.
I'll tell you what, dude. I'll tell you what. When I was in London and Edinburgh and Paris, I wasn't seeing too many gay people. I do in America, everywhere I go. What's that all about?
Maybe they're
I'm going Tucker mode. Not in Europe. I don't see them there.
Maybe they're just like secretly gay. I can see gay people in Britain just being low key about it. Like,
oh yeah, how could? Because you've been exposed to one on this very podcast.
Yeah, dude, you want to talk about
girlfriends?
You want to talk about like sexual fluidity? If there's anyone on the planet that can psyop themselves to being gay, it's fucking Ari, dude. Holy shit! The amount of like black BBC WebMs that he's watched.
Yeah, and shares them ironically with everyone, even though he has to go to a special Discord to find them. You want to talk about a grifter? He's a grifter with making up relationships. So, whatever. That's our boy. That is absolutely.
Oh, my girl goes to another country. She's
She goes to another.
Oh, my girl. She's from a different country. Sorry. So
yeah, and a different race, and also another different race on top of that. So,
and she looks like a famous cook on TV as well. So
definitely not on a show I just watched. Oh my goodness, we're getting way off the mark. Actually, it's really funny that I did that Tucker impression and I was talking about homosexuals in Europe, because one of the things I wanted to talk about, and I'm not going in a direction that you think with this. I don't really have any political I mean, I do, but I don't think it's worth sharing my political opinions on Tucker finding out that exchange rates exist and it's cheaper to get groceries in a dilapidated Russian economy than in America. But the thing that I did think was interesting, and something that I think we should adopt in this country, was that it looked like they had coin-operated shopping carts that kind of encouraged you to use them, then return them. And yeah, I think that's a good, jurisdictional civil system to keep, rule of law. But something that was over there that I really liked, and I want to know if they have this in New Zealand, because they don't have this in America in public places. When you went to, let's just say, when I went to the Louvre in Paris, I had to go to the bathroom. There was a public bathroom and I don't even know what to call it, bathroom plus that was €2 to
premium
use.
package.
Yeah. Yeah, for the premium chart American going overseas.
For the distinguished gentleman.
Yeah, exactly. So when I got the paid bathroom because there was no line for it, they were immaculate. They were incredible. And you had your own, it wasn't stalls. You had your own entire room that you obviously paid €2 for, and they're clean. You do whatever you need to do, and then you get back out and rock and roll. They don't have that in America, which blows my mind, because aren't we not only a capitalist country? It'd be incredibly easy revenue for a state or municipality to have these at train stations or airports, anywhere like that, where people feel like they need them. I don't know why we don't have that. I think it's a great idea. So it's something that we could learn, or America could learn from over there. So do they have that in New Zealand, what I'm talking about?
No, but they have it in Singapore, which is where I grew up as a kid. And yeah, those are sick. The paid ones are always fucking better than the free ones, for sure.
Mm,
But also
yeah.
along the same lines of the Tucker thing, it, for those of you who didn't watch that, basically Tucker went to this fucking supermarket in Russia, and he's like, "Whoa, this thing fucking costs so much less money than America." And it's like, okay, dude, are you aware of the concept of purchasing power? Do you realize that countries have different GDPs? You know, it's like I support Russia, and I think there's lots of reasons to support Russia, but dude, you don't have to fucking lie about fucking like economic purchasing power. Like food is not like one of the biggest reasons to support Russia. You know, you can support them as an opposing axis, as their you can support them for like their resilience despite all the sanctions. You don't have to like do this rigmarole for whoa, this thing costs like 30% less in Russia than in America. You know, it's just annoying.
Well, it's a bad argument because if someone said, "Would you rather spend $400 on groceries and live in America, or spend $100 on groceries and live in Russia?" I would pick America. I would spend that extra $300 on groceries so I could live in a better country. At least I think it's better to live in America than to live in Russia. But that's just me. I think people kind of they overblow how difficult it is to live in this country right now. Yeah, we're being squished a little bit economically because of rising interest rates and unfortunately some lack of purchasing power that we talked about before, but I don't care. I'm an American. I don't want to adopt the way of life in Russia and live in it. So yes, GDP is a thing, and we probably have to acknowledge that.
I think this
And
sort of like
purchasing
exposes the fucking levels of like the limits of Tucker's intelligence. Because he seemed pretty earnest when he was talking about this like grocery stuff. So I think he just exposed himself as a fucking retard. Honestly,
for anyone that's still not with us on who we're talking about, this is Tucker Carlson. He used to host the Tucker Carlson show on Fox News. He's probably at a time the most popular news media personality in the country, in the U.S. So, but I really think he's either lost his. That was my favorite show on TV. I watched it since the first episode. I can remember what he was talking about and who he interviewed on, well, what the guy looked like. I don't know his name. Who cares about that? On the first episode of Tucker. Okay, so I was a big fan. I was a huge fan. The direction that he's gone in since that show's ended on Fox, to me, it barely even feels like the same person anymore. I think he had some. I'm not gonna say he's an idiot, but he definitely had some talented people looking out for him, people who thought outside the box, who were on that writers room on Fox. Who one of them was on some lawyer message board. They found out his real identity, and he said some conventionally offensive stuff. Nothing that would offend people like us or our listeners. But he had a lot of people like that surrounding him that helped push the show along. And because it was a little more organized and segmented, he couldn't dwell on a topic for too long. Now he's able to spend an entire hour speaking to Tristan Tate about nothing. What are you talking? Like, what are you doing?
What's also annoying? You know what's also annoying? When he was interviewing Putin, like sometimes Putin would make a remark and then Tucker would like laugh, and it's like, dude, why are you laughing? Do you not have like any sense of shame, like being this off the cuff with fucking Putin? Like have some decor, you know?
I don't know if he got sick of it or not, but one of the original draws of his show is that he would have people who thought differently from him, mostly liberals, on often, and he would duel with them, and he would make them look like idiots, and he'd whip out that laugh, and you would love it. It'd be like, yeah, now he's laughing at him. It was so good. But towards the end of the show, he only had people on that thought the same way as him or were able to talk to issues that he wanted to discuss. And that was when I realized that it kind of wasn't the same show anymore. He took that energy and propelled it times 1,000 since he's got on Twitter. And again, it's part of the Elon Musk right at this point, and that means you've lost him forever. So it's unfortunate. Just like that 65-year-old breakdancing Bitcoin shirt wearing dad that harassed his own daughter on Twitter today, which I thought was funny.
Which is kind of based, actually.
No, trust me, he is. Well, you probably would think he would be.
I didn't watch the video, but he sounds funny.
watch. I'll send you the exchange, and I'd like to know your actual thoughts on it, even though I'm scared to hear them. Do you have anything that's been interesting to you on top of that, Tyson? I have one more thing, but I'm gonna wait on it for a second. Oh, you know what? No. This is what I was gonna bring up actually.
Okay.
It has to go with the shopping carts and public use and things like that. Man, part of the reason why I fucking hate libertarians is because they're just obsessed with finding ways to monetize things that should be communal, really. And I've found lately, especially when it's weeks where I've been slacking a lot, if I go to no, I'm not kidding, and I recommend you do this, and anyone else listening to you does this. Okay. If I'm having a rough week where I'm having a hard time paying attention to things, I go to the library. I literally go to the library at 10 o'clock on weekends to catch up on work that I was being lazy with during the week. And I can't concentrate better anywhere else than there. So they're great establishments. And when I go there, yes, there's definitely some strange people that make for great people. There was one guy who was sitting there just playing online poker, like right in front of the staff, just some old balding guy with a shopping cart behind him for some reason. But no, they are really relaxing places to be. And there's these like community beacons for people who really just want to go somewhere, learn more, settle in, concentrate, kind of get their lives together in general. And they're taxpayer funded. There are certain people out there who would want to find a way to be like, no, we don't need that. We just need a community that pays into having a library. It's like, no, I'm sorry, but you do need a local government that's able to provide a police force and a library and whatever else I might be forgetting. I just think they're underutilized. I think people aren't going to their local library enough. If you find yourself not being able to concentrate, have the ADD, procrastinate often, go to your just go to your library. It's great. You know,
that was my secret trick actually. Like when I was in college, I literally could not physically do any work when I was at home. But if I left and went to the college library or to the public library, I could do all my work there because I was forced to do it. There's no distractions when I'm there, you know?
So, you know what I'm really trying to say is that you can still do that now. You can still do that now. Nothing's stopping you. And it's even better because you have more free time. You probably have more money than you did in college. And you can get done things that you've been putting off for a long time. So I think people are really, again, going to sleep late and not going to the library is leaving life money on the table. I'm telling you. And I'm not saying it in a grind set way. I'm just looking out for everyone's well-being. It's a good place to be. And I hate anarcho-capitalists that say that we don't need the government to provide anything for us. I'm sorry. I like my libraries, and I don't want anyone to get rid of them.
You know,
I love how stupid way to monetize.
I love how like across all cultures, just the library has somehow evolved to become this place where homeless guys can go in to masturbate to porn. It's really fucking funny.
I don't know that. I've never seen that. But when I do think of libraries, I think of the guy kicking over the old lady, which is one of the greatest videos of all time. Yeah. Just some dumb old lady librarian talking some bullshit, and he kicks her over wearing some LL Bean shirt you get when you're 12 years old, or jacket. And then the other one where there's someone protesting in a college library, and some guy goes, it's like an Asian caricature.
Hey, this is library.
Yeah, he's like, hey, this is library.
Dude, one time I saw this old guy. He must have been like 85, and he was just fucking on this public computer, just fucking swagging out, like just openly looking at escort websites, dude. And there were like people right next to him on their PC.
See this? These are where legends are born. It's where legends are born. Just kings of the game, dude.
Dude, the fucking nuts on that guy, dude. It's like, god damn, you gonna browse that shit in public? Respect.
There's like some real old school weirdos in there. I remember I went to the library. This was back when I was in college, but I was visiting home, and I went to the library there, and there was some guy listening to some Rush Limbaugh clip on YouTube with wired headphones. And the clip itself he was watching on YouTube was from 15 years ago, and he's cracking up his video. He's like, he thinks it's like the funniest thing. Like the whole library is there watching some weird politics video from 15 years before. It just was like, dude, this guy's out of control.
Yeah,
but
liberals were BTFL that day.
Yeah. And yeah, I think this is more of a a tribute to libraries. I don't know if I've heard too many people say we don't want libraries, but I bet there's some stupid anarcho-capitalist bullshit angle that's like, actually, you don't need them. You can have a community. It's like, no, just let everyone pay taxes for a library. Okay, it's all right. It's all right. It's okay to have a communal space, because our identifying communal spaces used to be, and still are, churches, but we don't really use those as community spaces anymore as much as we used to.
I would love it if they
godless nation.
I would love it if we gave them a bit more money so they could build some walls for just a private section for the homeless guys to jerk off to. Just do it in a closed section away from everyone else. You know, that's all I ask for.
An adult section in the library. Is that what it is?
I mean, they're gonna jerk off anyway, so you might as well just let them do it in an enclosed environment.
I still don't think I've seen that. I don't. I'm gonna keep you just know the next time I go to one, I give this whole speech. The next time I go to one, I'm gonna get some fucking residue in my fucking face from some homeless guy.
I'm telling you, just hang out in the public computer area for long enough, and you're gonna see some homeless guys swag out.
You'll see magic happen, Disneyland magic and swag out. No, it looks like, look, they don't allow that riffraff in the library I was in. All right, or else. So,
you know
sorry,
what's funny?
that was just
I read this this tweet a few years ago about so this guy, he got kicked out of his library for this homeless guy got kicked out of his library in Sweden for watching porn. He sued the library saying, I'm a citizen. It's my right to view whatever I want on the internet, and as a public good, the library is not allowed to block me from watching porn. And he won the fucking case. So,
wait, was he masturbating?
To that guy. He was masturbating though. So,
again, one of my favorite meme templates of all time is that person walking from point A to point B and coming to a conclusion, and then a person below him like doing a trapeze and a jetpack and jumping through hoops. And it's that same thing. It's like the simple explanation is, I need to masturbate. I'll go to the library. And then below it's like, you can't masturbate in the library because it's bad for the net. It's not good for, it's inappropriate to, whatever. That's so funny. Of course in Sweden though, obviously. He's probably a migrant.
Dude, maybe they know something that we don't. Maybe that's like the best wank you'll ever have if you just do it in public, in the library.
Okay. I'm going to call your card right there, sir. I want it to be very clear that he said that, not me. So, all right, what else you got? I'll get you off the library subject there. I got one more, but I think you might have something else.
Just a thought that popped up when I was having lunch with my family a few 2 days ago with the extended family. Dude, I really hope I don't become a fucking picky eater when I grow older. You
already are.
I'm not. I really am not. I would hate it so fucking much if I became a picky eater, just where I can't eat some gay specific thing that I need to have in my special prepared way. That would suck so much, dude, because I love food and I love trying different things of food and different cuisines and different cultures. I would hate it if I just became closed off to all that.
Do you think people become pickier eaters as they get older? Is that what you're afraid of?
I assume they must, because dude, when I was at this dinner, there's this fucking relative where she wouldn't fucking eat anything. It's like to her, the concept of sushi is like mind blowing. She's like, what the fuck? Raw fish on rice? Are you out of your mind? It's like I hope I never become that, where I'm like, where eating Mexican food is like daring for me,
I think that person probably wasn't adventurous through life when it came to eating, so that's how I got to that point. So I don't think you ever will be. Some would say you're too adventurous with overeating.
Sick.
So I don't think you're at risk for that. Although you are the same guy that did an entire segment on why you shouldn't eat seafood and how you think that's gross. So
that's because of the it doesn't deserve to be called food. That's why it's the aesthetics that just make it not food.
Okay, that's how picky. So I'll tell you what. I am a picky eater in a lot of ways because I'm a big texture guy. If there's a texture that's off with food, I don't care how it tastes. I ain't got nothing to do with it. I ain't touching it. And the way some food looks, some drinks look, milk's disgusting. Not only because of where it comes from and it's unnatural for humans to consume it, but it just looks disgusting in that glass. Most drinks that I can't see through, I won't drink. I don't think there's any drink that I can't. Maybe a Bloody Mary. I can drink that, but other than that, no. There's a very rare chance I'll drink a food that I can't see through. So yeah, that's a weird, unusually specific role that I have for eating and drinking. So yeah, maybe I am a picky eater.
Will you drink Coke Zero because you can't see through that?
Can you not? I don't know. You can't. If you were to pour that into a glass, you wouldn't be able to see through that.
Isn't it black? You know, you can't see shit, right?
No, you can see through soda. You can definitely see through soda. I think, especially if it's towards the top. But
you know, yeah. I have this feeling that if me and you went to some fucking random country like Thailand or something, and we went to a street food like night market, I'd have a tough time getting you to try different shit.
I mean, it's possible. I've seen a lot of videos of people in India eating a few things from
well, India, I understand the caution with India, but if we went to like I don't know, like Turkey or Thailand or some other country with lots of street food culture, I feel like I would have a tough time convincing you to eat and try different stuff. Am I wrong or not?
I think it's tough because the few times I've been adventurous about that kind of thing, aka when I had crawfish in the Chinatown area off Leicester Square, it did not settle well at all. It was disturbing what happened to me. So maybe I think for the most part, I'm open to trying a lot of new foods, but if it doesn't pass the texture test, then yeah, we'd have some problems. The last thing I ate that really made me sick to my stomach was some kind of squid. There was like a squid head that I bit into. Ugh. And no, it was rough. It was rough. It was not what I was looking for. Not what I was looking for at all. So that was one of the last things I ate that really bothered me. But all right, well, no, I don't think you're at risk of becoming a picky eater. So
let's go.
Let's go. Let's wrap things up. Okay. I should just get off the internet. I don't know why I have some visceral reactions to things, and I don't want this to come off as me like prostrating, genuflecting to a billionaire. But there's some video. Maybe it's just because people are proles, and what's the underclass called again in communism? It's like,
proletariat.
Yeah, I guess that's where the shortening of the term comes from that I just said. I saw this video on Twitter of Mark Zuckerberg getting ready for a UFC fight, and he wasn't really doing anything in the video. He was just like, they were like handing someone some gloves, and he was wearing a UFC shirt, and he was kind of like touching the gloves as they were passing him to kind of pretend he was passing them down or he was trying to help. And he looked kind of out of place in the situation. And there's tons of people commenting it and retweeting and said, oh, when you're trying to look like a normal human being, or, oh, look at this like nerd trying to think. It's like, you know what? Who the actual literal fuck are you? Like, in what way are you anything at all? I'm sure you looked like just as much of an idiot walking down the street yesterday morning than he does right now doing that in the video. But for some reason, you're the better person in that situation because you're typing out on a keyboard that he looks awkward there. And that makes you really cool for whatever reason. And it's just like dogpiling on this guy who really... he's incredibly smart. He took insane risks at Facebook and tried to risk himself even further by nearly tanking the company with this metaverse stuff, which he's now trying to find a way to get out of.
That made me respect him a lot more, that he was willing to go balls to the wall with the VR and metaverse stuff. It's like, okay, he has a vision and he's willing to go and put his neck on the line for it. So respect.
Yeah, and honestly, I think he was about 5 or 6 years ahead of the concept because now you see those Apple glasses coming out. And that's going to start normalizing it. And he's going to be like, I was already there. I already did that. And he kind of released a video saying that too. So, and you know what? He does he raises his own food on a farm. He married the same girl he knew from college, had a kid with him. I'd say that isn't bad, but people just hate because I don't want to say because they're poor, but because I don't know, they're socially and fiscally inept and they take it out on someone by trying to bring them down about things that aren't really that relevant. And these people are just idiots in their own lives in the first place. I think it's just the nature of the reply guy online, and it's come so naturally for them to comment on other people's lives and actions.
I couldn't imagine being a reply guy. Like, wouldn't you feel deep shame knowing like that's what your day consists of, just replying to people? If that was me, I would feel so fucking embarrassed if that was me, dude, you know?
Yeah, talking about someone else who doesn't even know you, will never know that you exist. And there's a part of them that's getting some type of what's like endorphin rush for castigating these famous, billionaire people.
Imagine being one of the Krasenstein brothers, right? Imagine being one of the Krasenstein brothers, just like, that's your job? Really? You just reply to Trump every single day? God damn, dude, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah. That is tough. That is
also
tough. But
Zuckerberg recently won me over with I'm not sure if you saw this, but Apple released the Apple Vision Pro, and in response to the
I've seen this.
The thing, Mark Zuckerberg went live on Twitter, and he uploaded this video where he critiqued it, said, I thought that this would be a rival to our headset, but actually I think because of its pricing and all this stuff, it even helps our headset succeed even more. So I like that he had the balls to call out Apple, and he seems more comfortable talking to a camera these days. So he doesn't give off that fucking robot vibe as much as he used to, which yeah.
And you know what? Now you saying that is kind of helping me get to the heart of what I was trying to say in the first place. And also that video is really interesting because it's not curated or anything. It's just him sitting on a couch and explaining the concept behind the Oculus and what he was trying to do. But what you said kind of gets to the heart of it is, for me at least, is that people think that if they were in other people's situations, they would do better or they could do better. And they already, by the way they act now, they prove they can't. So, for instance, if you're thinking, well, if I were Mark Zuckerberg, I wouldn't be a weirdo standing there in a UFC shirt, like being all awkward. But instead, you're not only not Mark Zuckerberg, you're a person making just a bottom-feeding parasitical comment on social media. There's no chance for you. You failed at even being yourself right now as we speak, let alone a famous person. And they always like to say, well, if I were that famous, I would be humble. I would humble myself, and I wouldn't act out like that.
The key word in this sentence is being if. It's like, no, dude, there's no if. You're never gonna be someone like him. You're a fucking loser, and you're fucking you're so far removed from being contributive to society the way that Mark has been, that you're like on a different dimension compared to him. So just leave it,
And it's not even about contributing or anything like that. It's that they don't even understand. You can't just sit there and be your fat loser self where you are now and get to where they are. The sacrifices that they make are kind of the reason that they are the person that you see. And you don't understand that. You think you'll just magically wake up in their skin one day and you'll just do everything right. To get to these, to become famous, you have to be a narcissist in a lot of ways and be rude to people or dismissive, or sometimes if you're famous,
or act like a fucking robot in front of Congress.
Yes, or do something like that. There's all these things that you have to do, and people are saying like, "Oh man, he's such a show off." Blah blah blah. It's just not Mark Zuckerberg, but I guess he showed off in his own ways before. But he's just a show off narcissist. I'm like, yeah. You have to have that much confidence in yourself to get to that position in life. That's what you understand. And that's why you're not there. That's why you're not in that position. And it's like, it just really bothers me how people approach fame and how they think they would deal with it and that they would be perfect when they did. You're already a loser. Chances are, if you got to that point, you'd lose in an even bigger way, because you're pathetic, So I don't know. It's just something that always irks me from time to time. They do the same thing with Jack Dorsey. If you ever saw his email exchanges between him and Elon Musk, he's pleading to him about how he has this vision for Twitter and about how people should interact.
Who's
and
pleading,
how
Jack or Elon?
Jack was
Okay.
sending these just really, really smart, deep text messages about what his idea of like how people should communicate are. And then Elon, and of course you're going to think he's a boss, or like people think he's a boss for this, but it's like, okay, taking off, I'll text you back later. And it's like, here's a person who's essentially a salesman and an asset manager talking to a legitimately smart guy that started Twitter from the ground up. And he's completely inoffensive when it comes to CEOs. I think he's just a center leftist who was in over his head with what happened at Twitter and how he kind of got hoodwinked by his own staff. And people don't really know how to approach that person either. It just really bothers me because these are kind of forward-thinking people that we like to cut off at the knees for some reason because we have some ideas that they're like, I don't know, crazy lefties, or they're actually really stupid because they're not.
What's your issue with Elon's
businessmen.
response to Jack's thing?
Because he has nothing actually smart to say back to him. He was dismissive of him in the entire conversation. Oh, you can make excuses for him all day long. Until I've seen it.
It just sounds like a thing that a billionaire would say. They don't have a lot of time, so it's like, I'll text you later.
I'm simplifying the exchange. There's a lot more to it than that. And he's just short and unresponsive each time when obviously they're trying to get in the process of giving the company to Elon Musk. But that's okay. If you love him and think he's a baller, then that's your thing. So there's nothing I can do about that. You fucking loser.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on the back end there?
No, I'm good.
Well, maybe next time we'll have our co-host there.
I was gonna fucking bring up this topic of accelerationism, but I'll save it for next time.
Yeah, that sounds like a whole bag. I think we've touched on a lot of third rails and nerves in this episode. So maybe one day we'll solve the gender discussion. But until then, we are the contrarians of the cosmos, and yeah, you are being contrarian to me on a few subjects in this episode. So it is living up to our name. But if only there were a third person, right?
Oh yeah, if you guys like the episode, don't forget to hit this, smash the like button, leave a comment. If you have any ideas, things that you guys want us to talk about, leave a comment below. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe as well. Thanks, guys.
Later.